Welcome to the Weekend Chats with Joanna Ruth and Xanthia Chilio.
Join the Millennial Force WhatsApp community via our website and wait for the Zoom link.
Join us on Zoom and be part of the conversation.
Healing into harmony, feeling and community, made for you, of course, by Millennial Force.
Talk about the dire straits, and then also why the fourth dimension and having awareness of what that will entail, the mindscape and how to protect and live in that new world.
We started off this little section before we started, we should record this, with saying, so it's the 27th of June today, and on the 2nd of July is this period of 3 weeks, 21 days, between two historically major events in the Hebrew calendar and history of Israel basically facing aggression, like a major amount of aggression.
Which kind of lines up with what's the media's project moment.
That's right. And the frequency has been very, very low planetarily for all of the history that we are currently relying on, which is like, say, 5,500, 6,000 years of history. And the further you go back, the more vague the recording of dates really is, because we can assume a certain amount, and then archaeology is really backing up those dates, but it's slow. So the last 2,000 years, we're on point with recording dates, and prior to that, we're a little hazier, but the order is correct, and it's slowly turning out to be very correct. So there's science, geological stuff and archaeological stuff that's coming together, but the mainstream isn't aware of this stuff because the powers that creating this world, this current story, want us to know. We're not allowed to have too much information, too much freedom.
And we also mentioned that the modern astrology doesn't have the answers either, and we're going back into Greek mythology.
Yeah, and then you brought in the astrological aspect to it in terms of this time where the alterations that are happening cosmically are really the big, long cycle. You were saying the outer planets.
Yes, they're all lining up now.
Yeah,
like moving signs and becoming
and joining. And what did you say? They're all combining in a different way.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, talking to each other. We haven't got known history about, because this is really prophesized. We don't know because no one has lived to tell us.
Right. So that's when we started talking about modern history. We're relying on to know anything that poo-poos the mythology and says, oh, don't listen to that. That's just a story. That's just a myth. And now the cycles are shifting so greatly into combinations that we don't have any written history or any accepted history for it. So now we have to go back to the woo to find out what the heck can we anticipate to happen in this time.
Change your perception about it. Make sure that you see it in a bigger way rather than it being a story about a fairy tale that you've been sold. Try to see it in a different way that it actually could be history.
I think cycles do repeat, and now we're getting to a point where we're understanding as humanity that the story that we're living in now was created for this recent, like I'm talking cosmically recent time. So in the last, I think 12,000 years, we as in humans on the planet Earth, have been sent down the slide very slowly through and into like a decreasing frequency. So when you come down in your frequency, everything gets slower and more solid. And then because we have no control, we control how we deal with it, but what's happening, we don't have control. The cosmos is changing according to its patterns that's already written, and humans have to adapt. That's what we do. We're very, very robust. We're robust in the sense that we have the ability to adapt to these really low, slow, heavy frequencies, and it hasn't completely wiped us out as a species. Cosmic consciousness, the spark of cosmic love and truth, is within every human being. We are also of the planet, so we're of the heavens and of the earth in combination, which means the cosmos can metaphysically record keep through this low, down, slow time.
Call the Akashic records.
Perhaps, some people would call it that. So it's like this cosmic metaphysical record keeping that only human beings are capable of witnessing, because we can hold the spark of creation to have a connection to the cosmic force. And even if we don't believe that we are, we always are. But we have a learning system that is of the earth that has been infiltrated by the negative aspect, because there's always positive and negative. When you come down into this low, slow frequency, what people are calling the fifth dimension, everything is in unity. But then you go to the fourth dimension, things get the polarity comes, the duality comes. And then you go even slower and things get locked in. We are now at, cosmically, for this point in time, the lowest, we're at the bottom of the dip. And it's like the cosmos has put Earth in a slingshot, and it's taken many, many thousands of years in our perception of time to come down and adapt. But now we are going back to where we were and a little higher, like really fast.
Like Renaissance, but like on steroids.
Yeah, it's going to be a different world really, really quickly. Predictions are 2 generations just to accept that we belong to the cosmos, because we can only adapt. The human mind can only adapt so much in one lifetime. So you need people to be born into the new frequency and born into the new frequency to be able to assume a new normal. We can change the normal, but most of us are not wanting to.
Yeah.
Well, we're not wanting to, because it's really hard work. You have to do a lot of awareness seeking. Like the work that I do is essentially when people get to the end of their rope. It's going to happen more and more now, because we've been in a very low, slow frequency environment, and we've been doing it for generation after generation. We've collected all of these very low, slow frequencies in our mental bodies. This is how we learn. And it's our subconscious, so that we can do more, we can be more functional, because we have patterns running in our system. But the negative side of that, or the inconvenient side of that, is patterns run according to how we've had to cope with that slowing frequency. So now we have people really, really junked up, as you've experienced your junk in the past couple of months, as it's come up and you've decided you want to be of the future, not of the past. So to be of the future, not of the past, you had to remove it. Yeah, you had to remove it. So that's what I do. I'm the renovation removalist of the fourth dimension. I work in the fourth dimension.
You Marie Kondo the 3D.
Doing it from the fourth dimension, though.
Getting rid of that attachment and the baggage and things that you no longer serve you.
That's right, but it's all in the thought realm. Yeah. So that's in the fourth. But the power to do that and the wisdom to see it comes from my connection to the fifth dimension. So because of my childhood, where I was just like a normal baby, no problem, mum and dad and older brother and dog and all this stuff, very, very normal. And then my mother physically dies, when I'm 16 months old, not talking yet, and I'm just starting to walk. No one needed to explain anything to me, because I wasn't asking them to. Not yet. So no one told me, oh, your mother's gone, at the same time that she was physically gone. I knew she wasn't there physically, but she was still present with me, because young children are not separated from the cosmos yet. Our minds are not completely in that third dimension yet. We're still connected in that higher space. So what does that mean? It meant that I spent probably 2 full years not being told that my mother was dead. So my concept of physical death is not the same as everybody else, because my first experience of physical death is that you're metaphysically still there. I'm in Israel because my uncle passed away about a month ago on the 20th of May, so it's just over a month. And my experience of grief is just to remember him because I feel him. I don't get to hug him anymore. I don't get to hug him and sit there and
Still
listen to his
everywhere.
story, but I still have him with me. I can feel that.
Well,
I can project him into my imagination, and he's just as there in my feeling when he was alive because of my concept of what death is.
people want to leave a legacy as well. So when you said about his stories, the human that went before us are trying to send us messages. They've encrypted these glyphs on the temples, on the pyramids, because they're trying to tell us about maybe the fourth dimension, maybe the fifth dimension, about that the prophecy of going into the dip and coming out.
Yeah, because you have the Hopi prophecy that people
Of
talk
course,
about,
yeah.
where the choice point of whether you stay on this track or whether you ascend up onto this track. And we are at that choice point right now. What is the choice point? I believe that same choice point of the Hopi prophecy is in the New Testament, which is Revelation, that judgment is coming. Then we have non-religious, non-mainstream prophecy that's coming through now that's clarifying what we need to be doing, which makes complete sense compared, like in my understanding, is that the judgment is not from an outer place, it's cosmic. Why is there judgment? Because the planet is giving us no choice. As the planet slingshots up, so it's a much faster trajectory, all of a sudden, the planet is no longer in that low, slow frequency band. So as it reaches up a little higher, it reaches upwards from the low as well. The ball of the planet moves up. So all the frequencies that we've adapted to and been able to hang on to in our mental bodies are going to start crying really loudly because they're not supported. So you have to make a choice. Do you hang on to them because your egoic mind thinks that there's no other support and I have to hang on and I have to control everything? Or do you say, this is too painful, I'm going to adapt? I'm going to adapt to the new, which is I have to just let go of those things. And if it means that I have to think differently, so be it, I'll adapt. Now, some people are ready for that because they're not mentally lazy. They want to get in there and tinker in their mental space. They feel that they have permission and authority to do that. Whether you have authority to do that because you've been given a permission slip because I'm Jewish, right? So my lineage has a permission slip because I'm supposed to be of the chosen people, which is to hold the story, which we have, and be the light unto all the nations. Like, hold the story for everyone, because now we're coming to the end point, and we've all been clinging on to this story just to keep us connected to the cosmic force. I have a cultural permission slip. And then you have all the people who are attached to the Yeshua story, right? Well, you've got believers that understand Yeshua as the person. So just like my mother was a person, Yeshua was a person, and now my mother is not in the physical realm, or Yeshua is not in the physical realm. They're different stages of ascension in terms of their soul's learning. So Yeshua is the oldest kind of soul you can have, done all the learning of all the lifetimes of all the things. My mother is likely not that advanced as a soul. And I've come in here as a soul from her lineage, which apparently is a similar lineage. Prophecy has told me and my uncle just recently, actually, before these times, that our lineage comes from Yeshua's mother. My uncle was Mother Mary lineage, which means I am too, which explains a lot of things about my mother's history, my mother's way of being, and the way I'm compelled to be, positive way, like spiritually compelled to be. I'm not egoically attached to that, but it does make sense.
Does DNA get activated as we head up?
Yes, I think it's a waking process. It's a waking to who you truly are. So I think the DNA has also had to adapt to slow down. So it's maybe been tampered down because it's not able to be supported at that higher frequency. So the higher frequencies that we have inbuilt in our DNA are coming back online, and they're coming back online really soon. So in terms of the dates, we've got from the 2nd of July is a historic 21 days inside of this story that we're living. So the biblical story, whether we like it or not, it began, it's been implanted, been adapted to it, and probably for good reason, because you have a look at the indigenous folk around the world who had oral culture, and most of them are gone because as the planet has been dipped into this slow frequency, the opposition force, there's always opposition, When you're in a dualistic environment, you have to have positive and negative. You can't help it. But when you move into more of the 5D, you can actually access a mental realm that there's no duality. It's and instead of or, right? So we're moving from or to and, which is going to freak a few people out because they're so used to the or and they want it to stay the or, which means there's going to be sections. So there's going to be people who have such low, heavy, dense frequencies in their mental body that it will kill them. It'll kill them slowly but faster than everyone else.
Yeah, the turbo cancers. There's a
Right,
lot.
which is what I described the feeling in my body at 35. I recognize I had an emotional a relationship that crashed, which allowed me to start to see things more clearly. And I recognized I was dying from all this heaviness slowly, but faster than everybody else. I was going down faster. And so I had this incentive just because I knew the low frequencies were killing me, and they do. If you understand that, you can actually see that in the biblical text, in the scriptures. I'm living with my aunt, and my aunt lives on scripture. It's like food for her. So I hear a lot of quotes, and there's just as much New Testament scripture that I'm hearing as Old Testament. So there's no preference for one or the other because she's a believer in Yeshua, and Yeshua was obedient to the Old Testament rules as well. So she considers the whole entire Bible very important and full of lessons of truth, which is correct. If you take it away from these structured religions of Christianity and how it's interpreted it, or Judaism and how it's interpreted, and you just take the original text and you reinterpret it as best you can, you see more truth, which is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing quotes that are true, but I'm hearing them without any influence from any of those structures. I was never a Christian. I was never a religious Jew. I was a secular, and I'm a truth seeker, right? So it's all to do with how it feels because I'm connected to that fifth dimension because of my mother. And that fifth dimension doesn't say this or that. It's and. Right. So there's no initial judgment. So I seem to lock on to the truth really easily. But I did have to go through the process of getting rid of all those low frequencies so that I wasn't dying anymore.
What could people expect if they're listening and, feel heavy?
Well, I was in the situation that from the age of 3, when my mother was actually disappeared from me because someone in my kindergarten teacher told me my mother's gone. Someone eventually had to tell me. Someone was going to tell me. Even if my family didn't want to talk about it anymore, someone was going to tell me that my mother's dead and what that means to them. I understood the truth the whole time. Authority voices are very powerful for children. Or anyone who's in innocence.
You need attachment to survive. That's what we're built to.
Yeah, that's right. So I was told my mother's gone, she's not here anymore. And I believe the teacher because at 3 years old, you don't have a mechanism to analyze. Every authority voice is the truth, assumed truth. Yeah. So here I was at 3 years old playing with my mother in the sky. And then I get told, because there was a misunderstanding. So the teacher comes and says, "Oh, what are you doing? Or what are you looking for?" Because it always looked like I was looking for something. I'd been told as an adult many times it looked like you were looking for something, and we would all assume you're looking for your mother. But I wasn't looking for anything. I was playing with her. I used to make her dance because she would always stay in front of my eyes. And I understand now it's because I was projecting her image because I could feel her presence. And so she was actually everywhere.
A hologram. She was a hologram.
I made her into a hologram. I would project the last physical image that I had, which is like the fuzzy face of the mother. Like when the child is breastfeeding, they look up at the mother and they have very poor clarity of vision. That's what I remember. I still can remember that face. It's very nondescript. It's like putting a blur filter on a face. I would project that because that was what she looked like. And I could move my body like this and she'd be over there. And then I move like this and boom, she's over there. And I thought that was the most fun thing ever in the world. I can make my mother dance in the sky. Who else can do that? I was having fun with my best friend, which is what they told me at the kindergarten to do. Now go outside and play with your friends. So I went outside and played with my friend.
We'll have imaginary friends, so that was, yeah.
But she wasn't imaginary. She was the more real than the people in front of me. Kindergarten teacher said, "What are you looking at, or what are you looking for?" And I didn't answer her question correctly. I said, "My mum," because all the other kids had mums, right? So I
Yeah.
played my mum, and she said, "Oh no, darling, your mum's gone. She's not here anymore." And then she wasn't. So I looked from the kindergarten teacher who was up standing taller than me up here. And then I went back to look where my mother last was, where I put her in the sky, where my attention was on her, and she wasn't there. And I ended up with a twist in my body throughout my whole entire adult life. I was never aligned. I was always trying to stay connected to that spot, waiting for her to come back. It proves to you that the metaphysical, the idea, comes into reality, perhaps not in the way that you want, but it does. And so we see evidence. We see evidence in the physical. The physical world can be used as a representation of the metaphysical. And if you get really good knowing what you're seeing manifested, you can track it back to what exists inside. And so I'm really, really good at that because I've had a lot of practice.
I think that's where we started this conversation around people who aren't aware and aren't looking and aren't connecting those dots yet. And that's scary because after July really ramps up, you need to be paying attention to this.
Well, so it becomes not an optional activity. It's not an optional skill. Yeah, we have to encourage ourselves to understand how the fourth dimension works. If you use the scriptures, the biblical scriptures, as warnings and information, my understanding of Yeshua and all of his teachings through his students, like he had what we have. We're doing on this video exactly what he was doing, sitting around talking to his students, making his students accountable, teaching them how the mind works and what's inside comes to your outside. If you think something, you've actually affected the other person. But our experience coming into this low, slow state, because remember, he was teaching in a time that's 2,000 years. The earth was a little bit higher up, but over here. Now it's come down, and then we're going to go up really fast. So that 2,000 years ago mark might reappear in the next generation. Like that's the difference in speed. We're shooting up to like the myths of Atlantis, where they were telepathic. That's all written in the scriptures, all in there. If you look for it, you'll find it. If you look for it with an open mind, a mind that is not of this time, you're not locked in by the solidity of this time, and you understand that, yes, we are humans and we are living on this spinning globe of a planet, and we have no choice but to adapt. And where are we going? Right? Where is it cosmically taking us? We're on a ride of our lives. And in the next couple of generations, which I'm going to live through, I mean, I'm 53. I don't have much stress on my body. I have physical stress on my body because I have like body armor, right? That's heavy. So it creates, but I've learned how to cope with that physical stress. I've learned how to posturally move correctly so that my weight goes through my bones so it doesn't hurt my joints. I've learned how to eat in a way that doesn't encourage weight increase but encourages decrease. I've taken away all the negative polarity frequencies that depress my body and give signals of death. When you think about it, you either have the cosmic love and truth or you don't. So it's like when I say you can't be a little bit pregnant. My father used to say that all the time. You either are in truth and love, you're on that line, or you're off it. So you can be 100% and then you can let one little percentage point of not like conditions on love or some little compromise on truth and you're off the line. That's why I'm so adamant that you have to be on the line. You can't be next to the line. You can't be on and off the line. You have to be on the line because that's safe. Why is it safe? Because one little doorway, that one little percent is going to be, it's an open door for the opposition while we are still in the frequency of duality. We are moving upwards for sure. We're moving upwards really fast for sure, but we're not leaving completely the lower frequency. We're still in the 3D for quite a while. They still have bodies that get affected. Where we are now, at the top end, we have just like I have the ability to stand, it feels like, right at the top end where the 4D and the 5D are really, really enmeshed together. And I call it like there's a window there. And I stand at the window and my mother's just on the other side of the window. She doesn't have permission to come into the 4D and I don't have access to go into the 5 because I'm contracted to be on Earth, right? Embodied.
That's something that you can just jump into, seeing the window. Like, is it an imagineering exercise or?
Yeah, our imaginations are part of our right hemisphere function. It's not fantasy, as we've been told, because we've been told to stay in the left hemisphere and everything in the right's fantasy, but it's not. It's the dreaming, right? So you think about the Aboriginal understanding of where they've come from. Of course, they've come from the dreaming. The dreaming is the fifth dimension. They inherently have known, which has been taken away from them by interruptions to their lineage. They remember being in the dream time. The dream time is a faster dimension where there's no separation. They are right up there at that crossroad between the fourth and the fifth.
Why they were massacred and murdered, because
Yeah.
they didn't have the wisdom to be shared with other. Colonialism was basically to wipe out anyone above that
Yes, but
frequency.
you also have to understand that colonialism was like fated, cosmically fated. It's part of the story that's been written that we're living in, right? There couldn't have been any other way because the planet was forced down into this low, low space. So it's not to blame. Colonialism is not about blame. Oh, they came and stole and blah, 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 blah. Everything happens via cosmic planning. It's just a huge story that the human mind can't connect to because it's too big. It's like having an enormous number. We have no concept what that means. It's like a trillion, gazillion, and billion, whatever, and it's like,
Oh yeah, when they took
okay.
that dollar economics.
It's like when they talk about, okay, this is a megabyte, this is a gigabyte, this is a terabyte, there's another byte and another byte, another byte. It's like we don't understand the bytes. It's just like, okay, we understand how many video files we can put on the drive. We don't live in the dimension of mathematics. We're not up there. It's up here. It's further than the fifth dimension. It's like the sixth dimension is more mathematical and geometrical. We're not there. There are few humans, a very few humans like Robert Edward Grant, who can actually connect into that. He's meant to.
AI is kind of a bridge, but it's still not.
It's an untethered bridge. We have to be quite careful with AI and not let it be mock sentient. It'll never be sentient in the way that a human is sentient because it doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have a right hemisphere. It's faking sentience. People who are lazy thinkers, they don't want to go in and tinker with their mental space. They don't want to take out the low frequencies and leave them behind. They will rely on AI. They'll be the ones that will have everything AI'd. And I've been watching it actually recently. Is someone who very obviously doesn't want to do the work. He knows the work needs to be done. He knows he's observed problem after problem after problem, and he's still playing the blame game, and he really loves AI. And you know what AI is? For a really small price, you get all this functionality. So it's like something for nothing, isn't it? They just pay little dollars and they get this enormous thing. So that's the ego wanting something for nothing or virtually nothing. And that's the opposite of cosmic love and truth. Cosmic love and truth encourages you to be in line with respect of your creation, respect of other people in relationship. And being in truth means you have to take full responsibility.
It's reciprocity. I can never say that word very well, but it's really going into that. And we've talked about the Aquarian age, which is literally Wi-Fi signals. So there will be the bifurcation of advanced technology, which will take you, but it's an air sign, so it will keep you ungrounded, untethered, like you said. It will take you, or you go the opposite way where you're going back into the cosmic love, going back to our roots, human history, like what we're talking about here.
That's
Otherwise,
right. And very quickly in relation to what we've experienced in the past, but
Mm.
cosmically, slowly, returning, say in the next 200 years, we are returning. So 200 years is only 8 generations. So think about beginning of the industrial age. We still kind of have people alive who were there. How old are the grandparents now? They were born maybe 100 years ago. That's right in the middle of the industrial age. About 10 generations ago, we lost the village. Halfway through the industrial age, when people were pulled out fully from the village, and all the villages are gone now, right? So my grandfather, who died at 93, say, I don't know, 15 years ago, he was born in a village in Europe. That village is not a village anymore.
Yeah.
It's either a city or it's gone. The people who are very old now, they were born in the middle of that industrial age. In 4 or 5 generations from now, I will still live for another 2 generations. So my whole entire lifetime is 4 generations. If the whole ascension up to here takes 200 years, that's 8 generations. I'm going to be here for the first 2. You'll probably be here for the first
3, 4,
3, maybe 3.5, 4. A huge amount of change is going to happen in your lifetime and my lifetime. And that's why we do what we do, because we know what's coming. I can feel my cosmic compulsion, like the reason why I came here is to be ready by this time to be able to explain to people how it really is a choice point, and explain to them why it's a choice point. And it's not a man in the sky God that's telling you, I'm going to judge you. It's not.
Yeah.
So when you get prophecy that is about how much you love yourself, that's the judgment. That's the way of saying, where is your overall frequency sitting? Are you going to be adapting to the faster frequency? Because if you're not going to adapt, that bottom end is going to kill you slowly, but faster than everyone else, just like I experienced. So I know what that means. Slowly, in agony, and if you don't attend to it, that's your incentive to attend to it.
Yeah, that's why you're a good teacher about this. You've had a lived experience. You know what's coming.
I was talking to someone yesterday who has an incredible mind. She's amazing, but it's all left hemisphere. She's beautiful. She's got a huge heart, and she doesn't know how to use it because of her upbringing. She's from Russia, really hard upbringing. It's indoctrinated into her mind that life is about survival, and therefore it's about money, and therefore it's about being functional and productive. And this is what I grew up in. I have the same kind of history, Polish Jewish roots, and my father lived like he didn't have any money.
My grandma did the same.
He spoke like he didn't have any money, but he had money. I went to a private school my entire life. I went skiing. Every second year, we went to New Zealand. We had a very high middle class life. There's no struggle physically in that. But the mind that created all of that money was, I don't have, and I have to work and collect and not give it away. In my experience of life, having lived like that, it took me a while as an adult, to work out, how is it that I have all this privilege, but I think that I don't? Because I can see that I do. Now I understand the river only flows in one way. And so that energy that is life, it comes from the cosmic source. And when it comes down, so the 5th dimension is the last dimensional space, frequency environment, where that cosmic energy remains in unity. So we are going to have a lot more access from now till 200 years, growing the amount of access that we have of that 5D space. So if you want to have individual access to that 5D space, because you're going to adapt into that, you have to pay the price of not bringing your duality, your positive and negative, this or that, into that space, because it's not supported. You have to change your 4th dimensional frequential band into nothing that's negative. You have to find the opposition to the cosmic force. So what happens is that cosmic energy will come down through the 5th, and then it will start to divide in concept. That's where the language comes in. That's where language appears. because there's no more telepathy. Why? Why is there no more telepathy once you divide it into polarity, into this dualistic black and white, or white and black, this or that? Why? Because
You're
if
just
you take that into a telepathic state, it's so fast, you can't bring the opposition with you into that unity space. So you have the cosmic love and truth, and then the opposition appears to oppose it. And then
friction.
it keeps separating, and then it comes into the physical world where we can actually see evidence of the cosmic love and truth and evidence of the opposition. That thin line of the cosmic love and truth, now that we're at the bottom, like we're at the heaviest, there's a thin line of cosmic love and truth, and everything else is opposition. It's surrounded by opposition, trying to convince you to get off that thin, thin, difficult line. That's why it's so hard being where we are. But as like the planet ascends, if you stay down in this incredibly separated space where you're carrying the opposition within your body, because humanity is going to adapt to the frequency band that the planet is emitting. We are
So the way
obedient to the cosmic frequency that our planet is existing in. So when the planet rises in its frequency, we cannot exist. We have to adapt out of the low frequency, and we have to adapt into the new frequency, the higher 5D frequency, and which is even harder. So down here, it's your physical life is threatened. So you have a disincentive to stay, pulling yourself lower than what you need to adapt to. And at the top end, you have an incentive, which is drop your baggage, not because you're dying, but because you want to be in unity. So you have both ends. You have a disincentive down here, and you have an incentive to rise. So disincentive to not stay, and an incentive to go higher. And so that's what I'm here to explain to people when they bring me their individual example of a problem, what they can perceive in the world in front of them. So they're like at the lake at the bottom of the river. They're telling me what they find in the lake, where they are. And my job is to climb back up the river through their fourth dimension with the perspective of the fifth dimension that I have, because I know what can't move into the fifth dimension, which tells me that's opposition. Only the cosmic love and truth will remain in the fifth dimension. And our job is to see the opposition for what it is in the fourth.
Another way to look at the opposition is what is sucking your energy? What is pulling you out of that flow, incoherence? So this could be foods, this could be your living arrangements, this could be your job, this could be all these external factors. And how does that feel? And it's a somatic medical.
That's right. The 3D is an example of what's in your mental space in the 4D. And if your mental space is full of the opposition, then you're going to have all the examples in your life. This concept of debunking ideas, you're trying to lock into what is the cosmic truth. In the safety of unconditional love, you are able to notice and acknowledge the uncompromising cosmic truth. And so you have the support to be in truth, and then you're shining your light of truth around in your fourth dimensional space. And you go, oh, you're the wrong color.
To be all wanting to find those little nuggets that
they don't give you a feel in your body or examples in your life of cosmic love and truth, which feels peaceful, feels like home, feels like support, feels like belonging, all these things that we have trauma about because we have the opposition ideas that are opposing the cosmic love and truth, the ideas of cosmic love and truth, because everything is mind. Like everything is mind. The cosmic mind is more than what we can understand. I had to I went to Hawaii. I was led by my mother. It was all arranged so that I would meet in Melbourne. I would meet Kuma Lawrence. And I knew when I met him that I needed to learn from him. Not because so much of what he said, but how I felt when he was teaching. It wasn't me thinking, oh, that, it was a little bit, I like what he's saying, but I liked what he was saying because I could believe it. There were many things that he said that I didn't believe because I realized, oh, there's the man and there's the teacher. So I had to be discerning about which is which. But when he was being the teacher, he never changed the story. It was always the same story, and it felt like it was true. And the only reason why I could know that it's truth is because of the first 3 years of my life. I was embraced by unconditional love, uncompromising truth, and I knew what that feeling felt like in my body. So every time I came across it in my journey to understand myself, I knew that's the road that I would follow. It was a remembering of sensation in my body. And so I endured learning from this Hawaiian man who wasn't walking directly on the line, but it seemed like he was. He was very clever in looking like he was doing what he was teaching, but he knew that I knew he wasn't. And he also knew that I didn't mind. I was not unforgiving of his issues as a man. I knew the difference, and it's like, okay, well, he's a human being, but he has these teachings, and I needed to be immersed in the simplicity of the oral teachings that he had inside his memories. That's right. It's through talking and through applying and understanding to what you're bringing to me. So you see something in the world and I explain it for you, so you can perceive it through a different lens. I received like the essence of the cosmic truth and love. Just the essence of it. And because it was in an Indigenous environment, it wasn't directly relevant. It was directly relevant to my humanity, but it wasn't directly relevant to my society that I had to go back to. And so my job was to understand these teachings enough to be able to try to live through them. Through trying to live through them in a modern context and just not giving up until I proved enough to myself that they are relevant no matter where you are and what community you're part of. You're a human. If you live by this and you make your society or your community adjust to you living like on that line of truth, sure, it's not easy, and you end up changing the people in your community because many won't want to live on that line with you. But you do find, in my experience, you find that you're more comfortable being with the people who want to live on that line than accepting people who don't want to live on that line. You'd rather have a smaller community, but a cleaner one. Yeah, more pure.
So what do you think the overall message is for July?
July is going to be full of fear distractions for people. It's pretty hard for the media to not tell you that there are earthquakes happening all over the planet. It's pretty hard to avoid that. I mean, we've just had 2 in Venezuela, 1 in Japan, and 1 in California, which apparently make a special angled triangle when you look at it. You have things like Israel's about to have elections. Netanyahu very much may not win. Just like before October 7th happened, they were up in arms in protest then as well, because Israel needs more of its young people to enter into the army. And even though the world believes that all the young people go to the army, not all of them go to the army because they have laws that the religious Jews are exempt. But the religious Jews who are actually given money by the government to be the way that they are, they're funded, not a lot. I mean, they're not rich and they can still work, but because they're in prayer all the time, they're in this habituation of prayer all the time, dedication. It's like a section of society that, like the monks. If you were Christian, you'd be monks, right? So they all live in the old city in Jerusalem, and essentially on a metaphysical level, they're keeping the old city more stable. You can't believe that the river only flows in one direction and they say, oh, but that doesn't count to those people because we want them in the army. The river does only flow one way, and Israel has metaphysical protection because of the focused attention on the reverence of Jerusalem. It's an active thing, right? It's not just physical. However, the Haredi community is growing as a section of of Israeli community faster. It's a bigger percentage of the population every year. There are a lot of people making aliyah. There's a lot of people, they make a lot of babies, right? Because that's what they do. That's part of their thing, to build their community. And they train their babies once they're 12 or 13 to become pious religious Jews. And so they don't go to the armies. But now Israel needs an armed force that's robust. They've lost people. The war is coming. They need to lean in on this community, and the community doesn't want it. They want what they have. They want to be exempt because they don't want to lose their people. They don't want to have to make more babies. They're already, you know, that's the treasure for them is their children and growing their community, for the purpose of ministering to God.
All mothers have that, you know, bond
That's
in
right.
them.
And so they have a reason and they want to stick to it. So they're getting a bit rowdy and protesting because they're getting a little bit agitated. So this is what's happening. This is a period of agitation. So we're going to see humans adapting. The adaptation to the planet is really obvious on a physical level.
Healing into harmony, feeling and community. Made for you, of course, by Millennial Force.
Just when I think I couldn't possibly learn anything more new, bam. Joanna Ruth hits my heart. Hey, yeah, or my ego.
Ego CEO?
Ego CEO. There's always more to watch. I've got a bit more time. I'm going to watch the next one in the series. Cool, maybe we can WhatsApp in the group later about it?